What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you're all having yourselves a great Tuesday night. Sorry, I've missed you the last couple of days, a little bit under the weather, and you know it's bad when I can't even be able to make these shows. So, hope you were able to get by, but I appreciate each and every one of you that are taking the time live late tonight. And look, try to get this out as soon as I could, put some things together. Today was a wild day for sure, but hope you all had a good one. I'm going to continue each day, try to get out a position for you. And we're going to talk about each and every one of them throughout this draft process, getting ready for the draft at the end of the month here. So we'll go through, we'll talk about the quarterback prospect tiers, and I have them ranked from their rounds. So you'll see how I have it mapped out. We'll do this for all of the positions, and I'll show you who the Eagles have at the quarterback position. And, well, each show will have a different one, obviously, and then the top fits. So today we're going with the top five. Now, quarterback, not necessarily a position I think the Eagles need to focus on too much in this draft, but we're going to go through each and every position so we can talk about what the Eagles have, where they need to focus, and, you know, if they took care of that position in free agency. So each position, we'll get this. We'll go through it all, but I want to hear your thoughts on all of this. I want to hear whether you agree, disagree, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty for you to disagree with. So maybe there's some names not on here, somebody that you really like, whatever it may be. Love to hear your thoughts here, who you like out of the quarterbacks. And obviously, again, the Eagles have their quarterback of the future, but not to say that this isn't the most important position in the league here. So we're going to always be looking to improve there, but we're starting it off tonight talking about these quarterbacks. So let's get it started. My man GP in here early. Let's go. Appreciate you, my dude. Always giving me those lifting the spirits with those kind comments I always see. I appreciate you, my dude. Doing my best to get that cap news and everything else I can to you guys throughout this offseason. Thank God nothing happened in the past couple of days because I literally thought I was dying yesterday. Holy God, it was tough. But look, appreciate the hell out of you. Appreciate you tuning in here tonight. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. My man, yo, Luffy, appreciate you. And hey, that's part of free agency, but the Eagles will be looking. We'll get into those safeties. Don't worry. But we're going through each position. So let's get it started. My man, Gene Doan in the building, or maybe it's John. Appreciate you tuning in. And look, let's get it started. And we're going to look at these tiers here. And again, I want to hear your thoughts on it, whether you think somebody, you know, should be higher, lower. I'm going to show you, and with quarterbacks, you know, this is really out there, and I can't say that I have studied some of these back-end guys enough to tell you, you know, further in detail where, you know, this is where I've got, for these guys, I think more round 6, 7, and then undrafted. These are, you know, some guys that maybe they go a little bit higher, some of these guys, but I think these are going to be your back end guys that you're looking at here. And some interesting names there. O'Connell, Dugan, Malik Cunningham, Todd Centio is an interesting one there as well. Martinez. I mean, there's some decent names you could find. Maybe if they go undrafted, add to the roster, allow them to develop. Maybe they can beat out Ian Book, you know, for the Eagles. And hey, whether or not you're an Eagles fan, you could be watching this. Whatever your thoughts may be, I'd love to hear them. So that's where I've got these guys at. And then the next tier I've got from rounds 3 to 5. So I'm leaving the round 1 and 2 for some other guys, which I'm sure you'll know who we're talking about here. But you see, these guys, maybe, you know, they could definitely, some of these guys go later than 3 to 5. That's for sure. But my mindset is this is as high as they could go. And I'm not saying they couldn't go any higher, but Stetson Bennett, I mean, I think the highest he goes is maybe like 5th round there. But a guy like Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I think, you know, he could definitely end up there. But maybe somebody wants to take a flyer on him. They think, you know, he's got some upside there. Maybe a guy like Jaron Hall, you know, maybe you take him in the 4th. I can't say for sure what round these guys are going to go in, but it's got some talent, this quarterback class. And if you're looking for a quarterback, there's some backup guys, some guys you could add into the room and have them compete. So if you're looking for one, you could definitely find them. Now, up next, I've got rounds 1 through 2. So you're not seeing 2 names here, but that's due to the fact that I've got them as for sure round 1 prospects. Now, Anthony Richardson, Hendon Hooker, and Will Levis. To me, these all three of these guys could actually go in the first round. So I think it's definitely a possibility. And the way that it looks with this draft, 3 to 4 quarterbacks could possibly go in that top 10. Now, I don't know. That's what, the experts are saying. And it does look like those teams could be looking there. But then again, we've seen many a time that, these teams will go for a better player and look for one of those quarterbacks I just showed you in a further round. So maybe they go that route, but maybe in the first round you go here, or you try to see if they drop to the second. But I think Hendon Hooker is probably the most slept on out of this list. I like Hendon Hooker. But Anthony Richardson, I think, man, he's a tough one there, because it's like, I think he could really go in the top 10, but he could also fall to the late 20s. He could maybe drop out of the first. It really, I mean, I know he has accuracy concerns, and I think that, that's okay. But we all have seen, with these dual threat quarterbacks that, given an opportunity in the right system with the right coaching, not everybody's going to be Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts is a different breed. But, there is people are looking for a different type of quarterback, and that dual threat quarterback used to be talked about as if it was a bad thing. Now people looking at it as if it's a good thing. So I've always looked at it as a good thing if the guy can throw. So some of these guys going to take some fine tuning, but I mean, they're in college, so that's kind of how it goes. But the guys that are for sure first rounders, the top 2 guys in this draft, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. And I've heard people say that maybe, Richardson goes in front of one of let's not get ahead of ourselves here. I think if you want to, argue over who the number 1 here is out of Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, I totally get that. But I think for me, CJ Stroud, definitely he's got the size and everything else. I think obviously concerns with Bryce Young's size is that the other thing. Either one, I could totally understand why you would want to go with Bryce Young, but I totally understand if you want to go for CJ Stroud, the bigger dude. So look, for me, I think if you're in need of a quarterback, I'd happily take a shot at either one of those guys. But for the Philadelphia Eagles, that's what we're here to talk about. I'll be real with you. I don't think we need to be looking at any of those top tier guys. And, I think everyone can get on board with that idea. I know a lot of people last year felt a different way, but I think most people are on board at this point with, who the Eagles have at quarterback and what they're got going on in this room. Nina, what is going on? Appreciate you taking the time. Nice little late night video we got here, but I want to go through here quickly, just as we're going to do each one of these positions. We're going to break it all down. So I would love to hear your thoughts, Nina, what you got going on, but just showing you guys how I have these guys ranked and who I think the Eagles should be interested in. So we're going to break that down here in a second, but I appreciate you tuning in. Hope you and the family are doing well. Overrated from the Combine Wow Factor. And I agree that a lot of times, and I say this every year, do not get caught up with the Combine. You talk about, his game tape, you see that accuracy concern that I'm talking about. And look, but at the same time, I totally understand that people want to talk about guys like, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen when they come into the league. I mean, obviously Jalen Hurts for us, but it's like there are concerns and people, you got to take a flyer sometimes on one of these guys and just be like, yeah, I know they've got concerns, but I think they can grow. Now that's up to them. They have the meetings with them and they can decide for themselves if a team wants to do that. For me, I'm glad we don't have that predicament. We have Jalen Hurts, and he is going to open a lot of doors for these guys. So I think a little overrated, but I think he was being underrated for a long time. And it's just now that people are like, oh my God, this guy's pretty good. But again, I think he could go to the second round. He doesn't have to go in the top 10. Again, I know that's what the experts say, but some of these teams can be like, look, man, I think this guy is a surefire, tackle that is going to be able to solidify this line and ensure that if we get this guy in the second round, we can protect him, or maybe we have to trade back into the, end of the first. There is a lot that goes into this, and the experts usually are drifting out to sea. So look, I know that this kid, maybe a team wants to take a flyer on him, but maybe they don't. So I'm with you, man, that I think that it's always, somebody had messaged me and apparently not tuning into the show, but they asked about Brian Breesy, and he said, why is nobody talking about him? And I said, look, I don't know why the media doesn't talk about people, but it takes them, each week they'll find out about someone and then they'll talk about that person. They're the best player that ever existed. They have to be drafted. Everybody's going to flip out if they don't draft them. And then the next week it's somebody else. And it's like, son of a bitch. So it's nuts. But you guys heard me talk about him when we were talking about those defensive tackles. But it's just like, look, man, I'm just going to do what I do. They can throw their expertise out. I'm no expert. I just try to give you my opinion on things and just happen to be right a lot more than them. So it is what it is. But dude, look, I think that, he could definitely, someone could take a flyer, but I think that, man, he could really, he could be something special. So yeah, maybe a team does take a flyer, but I also think that teams will be watching his tape and be like, dude can't throw much. And look, he improved those things, but I think that, it's an iffy call there. That's one for me that I think he could definitely drop. How do I feel about Kalijah Kancey? We've talked about him. I like him a lot. I don't think we necessarily have to go there at 10. If he drops, maybe you want to decide to go after him, trade up with your 30 and not sure he falls. Okay, but you have Milton Williams. I think that for me, I'm excited about what he's about to do. I think that Jalen Carter, if he's available, you try to go after him. But Kancey is not somebody I'm going to be pissed about if we add. I know we're looking to add to this room at all times. We talk about, I don't care if we have linemen on offense or defense, always be looking. The reason I mentioned Skoronski, the reason I mentioned, Breesy outside of Carter and guys like that is because, well, the Eagles are always looking at those positions. And I'm just warning you, don't get pissed off if those are the people they draft. Now, you know how I roll. We'll go through this and then we'll do my one and only mock draft show. We'll talk about all that great stuff. And then I'll pick the one guy I think the Eagles are going to draft. Each year I do that, going for 5 years in a row of getting who we're getting there. But I don't think I'm doing it this year because holy shit, it's a fun one. There's a lot going into it. And my source, I don't like when people tell me anything. I really don't like hearing other people's opinions because I don't want it to taint what I've already been thinking. You know what I mean? Whether or not I tell myself like, nope, don't even care what that person said. I still, if you say something, because I don't, take that person's, if they like them, I'm like, oh, well, I don't like them now. You know what I mean? So I try not to, but it's rough out there. But Kancey, I like him to answer your question. But Liz, what is going on? Appreciate you tuning in. And look, we're going to go through this. Love to hear any of your thoughts here. But for sure. And look, we'll get into all of those guys here when we get into that. But look, and Kancey could definitely help there for sure. But I think Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, and you're going to want a lot of different guys that can play different techniques and have different versatility. So adding more linemen is not out of the realm. Lady, if we can land Carter, I would lose my mind. Now let's take a look at these Eagles quarterbacks here. So you see Jalen Hurts is under contract. Ian Book and Marcus Mariota are the backups. I love the addition of Mariota in free agency. Lost Minshew to the Colts, and I was perfectly fine with that. So I think it's an upgrade there for your backup. So for me, the way I feel about this is you got obviously Hurts as your QB1, Mariota as your backup, and then Ian Book is going to have to duke it out with somebody here that we're about to mention. So Ian Book, strap on your boots because we're about to go dancing. So we're going to take a look at the top 5 best fits for the Philadelphia Eagles. So these are not the top quarterbacks in this draft. These are who the Eagles should be looking at. So there's going to be other names here. I mentioned some of them earlier that maybe the Eagles could look at, but I went with 5 here that I think could be possible for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'll tell you where, why, and let's get into it. Love to hear your thoughts. Number 5, Max Duggan. And if you remember, a couple years ago, we talked about Max Duggan, actually, because, well, he was quarterbacking for a certain wide receiver that we drafted and no longer have that wears purple still. Okay, so you see this young man here, not a great quarterback, I'll be honest with you, in the sense that, he's a dual threat guy, but, not the greatest of accuracy, I'll be real with you. And little, he's 6'2", 201 pounds. 6'2" is a decent height. But I don't know, man. He just kind of seems, but he's tough. I'll give him that. He's definitely a tough little bugger, and he runs around. And I'll be real with you. He doesn't jump off the page. Like his traits aren't crazy or anything like that. But I think he makes some terrible decisions as well. You see, he only has a 60.3 completion percentage rating there. He threw for 73 touchdowns, 28 interceptions. He had 1,856 rushing yards and 28 rushing touchdowns. So he was good with the RPO, though. So I think that's a guy that if he goes undrafted, maybe one of those 7th-round picks. You're like, hey, you know what? Let's give it a whirl. And again, we're just talking about the quarterback position. I'm not saying this is what the Eagles are going to do because I don't think they will. But I think undrafted is probably the best way to go here. But Dugan did all right last year, man. He had 3,698 yards. He was pretty decent, had 32 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions. So he definitely cleaned some things up last year. Had 423 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns. So the guy can get it done in the air and with his legs, but he's got a long way to go. And, well, that's why we're talking about him because, yeah, I don't really think we need to be drafting anyone too high. Now, up next, Adrian Martinez. And this young man out of Kansas State is actually pretty fun to watch. I'm going to be real with you. Now, his decision-making and the way he holds on to the ball too long as well. I think a lot to clean up. But, hey, we talked about those things with Jalen Hurts. But this kid's pretty good. You see, another dual-threat guy. But he's pretty accurate when throwing shorter throws. And I think that he's pretty good on the run. So I think that, with his arm, he's got a pretty strong arm here. I think that's somebody you would definitely look into trying to develop. You see 51 passing touchdowns, 31 interceptions, but he's got 45 rushing touchdowns. So that's pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie to you. He actually played 4 years at Nebraska. For anybody that watches college, he just played his 5th year there in Kansas State. So, look, he had a pretty decent year there. I thought, 64 completion percentage. So he went up a little bit from his career average, had 1,200 yards. So wasn't anything too crazy, but the kid, he's fun to watch. And this is why I say probably a kid that could go undrafted here. And look, almost 3,000 rushing yards, though. But he's somebody that, you could have fun with, develop. And I think learning under someone like Jalen Hurts would go a long way for him. So somebody I would keep my eye on. Now, up next, I'm actually really intrigued by this kid. And it's not just because I love that last name, but Malik Cunningham here. And this kid, now this is an effing dual threat quarterback. And you'll notice that is the theme here. But look, this kid is perfect for the RPO zone-based read stuff that, we worked with. Jalen Hurts brought him up. I think obviously Hurts is way, way further ahead of this kid. But out of Louisville, this kid, he actually beat Lamar Jackson's touchdown record there. You see 120 total touchdowns. Holy hell. 29 interceptions. He's got over 9,000 passing yards, 3,000 rushing yards. So the dude is pretty fun to watch. But, yeah, he's pretty terrible with the deep ball. He's definitely got accuracy concerns. His vision's a little But, look, man, he is definitely he's fun as hell to watch. He's quite the athlete. I'll be real with you. But I think that he's somebody that maybe in the later rounds you might have to get. I think other teams, again, will be intrigued by this type of quarterback. So maybe, you want to watch yourself and maybe you take him with a 7th-rounder. But look, I think there's going to be some interesting options that are undrafted. So that would probably be the way to go for the Eagles. But if you were going to draft someone, maybe you wanted to trade up, or maybe you've already traded one of your top picks, and now you've got yourself a 5th, a 6th round pick, maybe something like that. Maybe even in the 4th, you're thinking, okay, I got to get myself a quarterback here. Well, you can see Jaron Hall here. This kid, this is another dual threat quarterback. And look, I think this kid, he could definitely go maybe in the 5th round. Maybe he goes higher. I'm actually pretty intrigued by Jaron Hall. Again, I'm no quarterback expert here in the draft. So putting these together, you got to take with it what you will. But then again, that's all the stuff you see out there. But I think that this dude, you see 52 passing touchdowns, only 11 interceptions, 9 rushing touchdowns. He only played in 29 games, but he had a 65.2 completion percentage. So higher than anyone you saw here, 6,000 passing yards. I think this dude, he's actually pretty fun to watch. And he's got some pretty good touch on his deep ball. He's got a nice arm on him. So, look, man, I think Jaron Hall, if you were to draft somebody and want to try to develop them behind Jalen Hurts, look, I think Jaron Hall would not be against it. Again, this is probably not going to be the route I'd take. Another 5-year guy that I think is intriguing, but he didn't really get a chance to play. He missed his sophomore year. So he actually played at Brigham Young his whole career, but last year I thought he did pretty well. 3,000 yards, 8.4 yards per attempt, 66 completion percentage rating. So I think the kid, he's got some talent there, but he could definitely fall. So as much as I say these guys could go up higher, this is the quarterback class, and you never know, man. People could definitely just drop to undrafted, and I think this kid will probably get drafted, but he's definitely intriguing. 6'1", 205, so not the biggest guy, but man, is he fun to watch. I would definitely recommend go checking him out. Now, at number 1, this is actually a guy that the Eagles had a visit with, and very intriguing prospect, but I think that this kid is going to get drafted. I think Mariota was definitely a great pickup. And I think with that pickup, the Eagles are not going to really look to draft one. But if they were going to, and you did acquire one of those 5th round picks, something, maybe you were thinking in the 4th round. I don't know what teams are really thinking, but you saw I had him listed from that 3 to 5 range. I think he could definitely go in the 5th round if somebody's feeling frisky. You see only a 63.3 completion percentage rating, but 10,000 passing yards, 88 passing touchdowns, 36 interceptions, but 28 rushing touchdowns. I think this kid, if you guys remember, we talked about him when the Eagles were visiting with him, and I really like him. And, you know, of course, you're going to hear like, oh, they're going to remind you of Jalen Hurts there. It's like, yeah, okay. Well, every dual threat quarterback, I guess, if you want to say that, just reminds you of Jalen Hurts. Oh, Michael Vick and Cam Newton. Okay, they're very different. So regardless, this kid, I think he's actually pretty fun to watch. Another 5-year guy, but look, he's smaller, 6'1", 2, but we've talked about that. You know, we're talking about these smaller guys, but I think this dual threat quarterback, and we all know who his coach was, Chip Kelly, definitely helped him along. But I think this guy, he's got an arm on him, and his mobility really helps him out, man. I think that he is going to improve, you know, and he's definitely going to work on his throwing motion. I mean, his everything. He's definitely got to work on a lot of things. But this is another one of those prospects that I think that if he were to fall, or, you know, you find yourself in a position you could trade back in, get him. If you really thought that that was important, that would be the route I would go if I were the Eagles. But if you heard me at the beginning, maybe you just tuned in, I don't think the Eagles do any of that. I think we are perfectly fine with what we have. Maybe one of those guys we mentioned gets picked up as an undrafted kid, and I definitely think we picked up somebody in the undrafted pool. They compete with Ian Book, and good to go, because you talk about Ian Book, they, you know, had a draft grade on him. He's going to get added as if he's a draft prospect. You know what I mean? He's just going to be competing with whoever this other young guy is. Marcus Mariota is the veteran backup. Good to go. So for me, that's the Eagles quarterback position, and that's how they should look the best fits for the Philadelphia Eagles in this NFL draft. So I would love to hear your thoughts on it, whether you like some of these guys, whether you do not like some of these guys, whatever's on your mind. Let me know. Maybe you're a fan of one of these teams. You've got some in-depth analysis there. Whatever's on your mind, I'd love to hear it. But, yo, my man, Sean, what is going on, bro? Just got done going over the quarterbacks. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these quarterbacks. We'll go through each position. So we'll talk about all the running backs, receivers, tight ends, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties. And don't worry, we'll get into specialists too. I will break it all down for you. Do not fear. Jimmy Smith is here. But look, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear them, whether you're watching it live, later, but I'm going to get rolling out in a minute here. So get those thoughts in now. I'll try to answer them. And then if you're rewatching this, I always get back to you. So leave your thoughts down below. Love to hear how you feel about the quarterback position. But do not fear, we will be getting to every single position tomorrow. Running backs. And the show is going to be a little bit earlier in the night. So hope you'll tune in for that one. It's going to be a damn good one. Looking forward to it. So it makes a lot of sense. Dorian would be a great team. I think he really would. And if he drops, he falls, teams feel skeptical. If quarterbacks start dropping, like I think they could, I think there's a lot of talent in this draft. And it's always funny to hear, well, these guys have to go. And it's like, well, no, they don't. So I think, you know, if he falls, we brought him in for a visit for a reason. We wanted to get more, whatever they were missing, they didn't see on tape. So they're interested, but they could be interested in a lot of those guys. Okay, cap-wise, if they end up with 8-9 picks this year, they would be perfect. We have a lot of, go check out the videos about cap space, Sean. Yeah, we've got more than enough cap. We could pick up 27 more draft picks and be perfectly fine. But we can trade for all those studs. We can do all that stuff. If you guys missed any of the shows, go check out. There are playlists you can go to. Show Me the Money, and it will tell you everything about the cap you need to know. If you're looking for roster moves, coaching moves, whatever it is, there's a playlist for it. You can find out whatever information. And now there's a new playlist for the NFL draft prospects. And obviously, there's only going to be one tonight, and that will be this quarterback show. But I'll be adding running back tomorrow and then receiver. Now, my birthday is on Friday. So I have family coming up Saturday. Then it's Easter Sunday. So it's like, Saturday, I might try to get one in, and Friday as well. But it's going to be real iffy. But I'm going to try to hit you with these every single day and at least have these out. So we still have that week before the draft, talk about all that stuff we need to. But let's keep breaking it down and let's keep getting ready for this NFL draft because I'm effing excited. We got 4 picks in the top 94. That is pretty effing amazing. You guys saw me break down how much the cap space will be for those draft picks, all those things. Oh, yeah. Get excited because the Eagles, and that man right there has got a game plan going into this draft. Do not fear. He'll be trading. Talking to my brother earlier on the phone, we got 26 picks in the next 3 rounds. And look, if you guys want to see this, maybe I'll start showing these at the beginning just so you guys know what picks, but maybe I'll just make it for, this year. But this is from the show the other day. You see, look, we've got, those top 4 picks we're talking about. We've only got 6, but you've got 12 the next year, 8 the next year, and you can trade all of those. So expect to be moving around, acquiring more picks for this year. And hey, maybe you even acquire less, go down to 5. I mean, Howie's a magician, but I think acquiring more mid rounds is something that's going to happen. So maybe you trade out of that first, get another second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, whatever it may be, additional, obviously a couple of those combined. So, hey, just be prepared for Howie to work his magic, but get excited for this draft. That's all I've got for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. If you got anything from this, do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. I will be back tomorrow, April 6th. Nice, my man, the day before. Love to see it, dude. Love to see it. Happy birthday to you. Hopefully you have a great day. And hopefully I see you on Thursday tuning in here. I will definitely try to wish you a happy birthday. If I don't see you, though, man, have a great one. Stay safe and get rowdy for me. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all having yourselves a great night, a great start to your week. But that is all I've got for you. We'll be back tomorrow. But do me a favor, leave those thoughts down below in the comments. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And whatever you're doing to support this channel, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time live, watching later, whatever you're doing. But I hope you guys are all doing well out there. If you need me, seriously, reach out. Some of you have in the last couple of days. I always tell you, if you're going through anything, seriously, reach out. You got any questions, reach out. I'm always here for you. If I don't respond, message me again because I get a lot. So I will always get back to you. Just keep reaching out if I do not. So, ladies and gentlemen, I love each and every one of you. Hope you're having a great night. But until next time, I am Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. You all stay safe out there. And as always, say it with me. Go Birds!